This guy's Space Tomato, huh? Who's he kidding? All this talk about how much depth is being put into mining compared to other things. But where's the tutorial for how mining lasers and consumables work? Well, I'm about to give it to you. I'm also going to give you an infographic to keep beside you while you're playing, with the link in the video description. Now let's get to learning. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. There are several ways you can affect your mining experience to set it apart from everybody else. These different effects are contained in two groups, mining lasers and laser consumables. We are going to look at mining lasers first. There are 3 laser sizes, 2 of which we'll be looking at today. Size 0 is unchangeable and unimportant to this conversation at the point of this recording. Each of these lasers offers a different set of pros and cons, like changes to your rock fracture rate, instability, optimal charge window, or even shatter damage. We'll be focusing mainly on fracture rate, instability, fracture window, and resistance for today. There's a ton more info that you can find on my Discord channel in the video description or over at UEMC. The United Earth Mining Corporation is the largest mining Oregon Star citizen and the provider of today's statistics. As you can see, between all of the available mining lasers, Arbor ends up being the default choice for all variables. Thus, it acts as a good base comparison for every laser. After the Arbor, we'll look at the Helix, the previous meta choice for lasers. This guy comes in at a whopping 54,000 UEC at refineries, and comes with some solid pros. The instability buff is the best advantage, and it's got good range. But given other shortcomings such as the negative 50% throttle response, it's pretty expensive. That being said, this laser could work with some consumables. Next is the Hofstede, which is affordable and reliable. It's a mid-range laser that provides good instability reduction at the cost of a hard landing when you fall. Keep an eye out for that shatter damage with this one and pick your consumables or combined lasers wisely. Impact is exactly what it sounds like. It has higher power transfer and will create some problems for you with the high overcharge rate. Be wary of this one. It does offer modularity with the ability to equip 3 consumables, but it can have a pretty bad effect on your overcharge. It's also a bit more on the expensive side at 28,875 UEC. The Klein lasers are essentially impact lasers, but worse in almost every regard. Are they the equivalent downgrade that their price would have you believe? Well, I'm not sure, but at 5,075 UEC, they seem like solid lasers and would be pretty well used as support lasers. Finally, we have the Lancet lasers, the original kings of instability reduction. These lasers are also the best option for optimal power window sizes and resistance reduction. You will see a decrease in fracture rate and a lower power transfer level, but besides those 2 things, everything about this laser is green. All statistics that apply to these lasers, throttle speed, shatter damage, overcharge rate, and number of consumable slots are all available on my Discord server with associated helpful channels. You can also head over to UEMC for even more help. Now, we should get back to those consumables I just mentioned a second ago. While, just like lasers, consumables have many attributes which they affect, this guide will focus on the 3 most in your face: resistance, instability dampening, and overcharge rate. You end up having a lot more choice with these consumables than you did with the lasers, with a total of 8 different items at the point of this video. Let's start with Brandt. It is the sole effective consumable for instability damping. Because of this, it is also the most expensive consumable at 2,250 UEC. It's definitely one to always keep with you. With a damping power of negative 75% and overcharge rate decreased by 25%, you don't want to come across a deposit without it. Pharrel is a good option for those tough rocks with low instability. As long as you can avoid blowing the rock when you crack it, you'll be okay. However, if you do see things going sideways, get away, as this consumable bumps the damage that rock does up by 50%. It's pretty middle of the park on price at 975 UEC and is one of the only 2 consumables which lowers resistance. So that's your call. I'd definitely grab a few. Lifeline is exactly what it sounds like. There's actually no effect on any of our 3 main metrics, but when you finally screw up, this will decrease the shatter damage, decrease the overcharge rate, and increase the charge rate by 90%. Essentially, you can't kill yourself if you have this thing activated. That may not be the most valuable option for some of you coming in at a low 400 UEC, but certainly would be great when paired with something like, say, that Pharrel. More on pairing and combining later on, though. Optimum is another one that bumps that instability up, but this time while increasing your charge window. As the only consumable that expands your charge window, this is very useful, and it's priced as such at 1500 UEC. Besides those 2 effects, this thing does nothing else. So if you could find a laser or consumable that handles that instability for you, you're looking at an easy time cracking those tougher rocks with an Optimum. The Rime represents an instant 50% power reduction to your laser. So if you end up getting a bit out of your depth and need a helping hand, pop one of these guys on to drop back down into the safe range. It's a nice trick, but one that you won't need if you plan well. Thus, it comes in at 550 UEC. The interesting part is that these would be best used for newcomers who are still making big mistakes. But any beginner who runs red and would need it might be panicking a bit too much to remember they have it. If ever there was a consumable that fit the name, it's the Stampede. With the ability to raise your charge and overcharge rate by 125% and your instability by up to 10%, using this thing is about as risky as daily driving Drake Interplanetary, but buying it will save you about just as much. At 700 UEC, the Stampede is leaning towards the cheaper side. Good for rocks with high resistance and low instability, or a laser that can replicate the effect. Surge is also a bit on the nose with the naming, being another one-shot 40% boost of power to the laser. The downside is you get a 200% increase in shatter damage and a 100% increase in overcharge rate. So don't mess up with this one if you use it. Cause while 700 UEC might not be much for the consumable, you might have to consider paying for your ship. Finally, the Torpid, a fairly middle-of-the-park consumable that lowers resistance, overcharge rate, and charge rate by 20%, the third of those being a bit bad. This is probably something you could mix with your power boost consumable to balance out that resistant rock onslaught. You'll be able to pick it up for just shy of 1000 UEC. These lasers and consumables, with all of their strengths and weaknesses, their specific use cases, and their tendencies, all fit into a gameplay puzzle that can make the difference between 200,000 UEC and you respawning in a hospital. We won't be covering any of these combinations here, but if you'd like to get some tips and tricks on what items can be used together for the best results, join our Star Citizen community in the video description, and keep an eye out for my full mining tutorial in the coming weeks, which will have some nice combinations for you guys to use. And don't forget, all of these items can't be bought at just any store. Make sure to check our resources to find out where you can buy the laser that you want. And do keep in mind, when it comes to the lasers, everything that we have discussed today can be combined with the use of 3 different laser slots on the mole, with 3 consumable slots available to each, or with any number of prospectors. Because of that, there are a lot of strategies you can come up with based on your group and what everybody is comfortable doing. And while I've given you all of the stats on these devices, it's up to you to use your resources to find them in-game. Remember, I said I will be releasing infographics for all of these items so that you have an easier time remembering what each thing does. Make sure to drop by our Star Citizen community on Discord to find those. And if you'd like to enjoy more Star Citizen cinematics, updates, and gameplay, subscribe to this channel and hop on over to Twitch, where we host ship giveaways and group play sessions every week. You can also join my Anvil Arrow ship giveaway in the video description. Don't forget to keep an eye out in my secret code I put in my videos every month to get more chances at winning my giveaways. And if you'd like to support what I'm trying to do here, please feel free to check out my Patreon page, where you can get early videos, exclusive cinematics, and more for as low as $1 a month. Thanks again for watching this video. I hoped you were able to learn something today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks to my top supporters TK the Alpaca, the Huntress, Ben N, Dasek, Holston Coop, and Guilty Conscience.